emails. It just came out. Secretary Powell, Secretary Rice's closest aides use private email. Everybody knew that.
Now we know Colin Powell had a private email account to aides to Condi Rice. As you know, just recently, Colin Powell's emails were retroactively classified from more than 10 years ago.
Right.
As he said, that was an absurdity. I've asked, and I echo Colin Powell in this, release it. And once the American people see it, they will know how absurd this is. So
Okay.
Colin Powell and I are exactly on the same page.
You know, every time she did that,
No.
I said, don't do that. Because, you know, Colin Powell, he doesn't like to get out. And
He's like...
he likes to, like, sit back, work on his cars.
And be Colin Powell.
Be left alone and be Colin Powell,
Come
right?
on.
So every time she'd say that, I go, oh, don't
Yeah.
do that, because you're going to make him come out. Because, you know, the Washington Post last week gave her 3 Pinocchios, or Bill Clinton 3 Pinocchios for bringing up Colin Powell. There's really no comparison.
Former
It's not even
Secretary of
close.
State Colin Powell
So she forced him
pushing
to
back.
put down his tools and stop fixing his cars and push back on reports that he advised Hillary Clinton to use private email. NBC News told that what Clinton told the FBI seems to have been largely based on a memo Powell emailed her describing how he used his personal AOL account for unclassified emails in the State Department system for classified material. But Colin Powell says no. And he tells People magazine, her people have been trying to pin this on me. The truth is she was using the private email server for a year before I sent her a memo telling her what I did.
The article goes on. Why does the former diplomat believe this to be the case? Why do you think, he said, it doesn't bother me, but it's okay. I'm free. The report, God, that's really, what's the word there? The reporting on the advice first came from the New York Times, sourcing her FBI conversations, and an upcoming book by Joe Conason. The book retells the conversation among former secretaries of state at a dinner party hosted by Madeleine Albright, where Powell also reportedly suggested Clinton use personal email. Powell told NBC News he had no recollection of that conversation.
So let's break this down. As it's been reported, there are a lot of differences between how Colin Powell and Hillary Clinton used their personal email. For one, Powell never used his own private email server. That's what the Washington Post pointed out was a biggest difference. And at the time he became Secretary of State, the State Department did not have comparable unclassified systems. He used personal emails for only unclassified information. He used an office desktop for all classified communication. And, of course, we should note that 2 emails to his account were later marked classified, though Powell disputes their sensitivity. Mike, there's no comparison, and everybody's known there's been no comparison for a long time. Forget the regs that were put in place in 2009 and then even more in 2011. It's painful. They just need to stop this.
The biggest distinction, the only distinction, the most important distinction is that General Powell, Secretary Powell, never had his own personal server.
Right, exactly.
That's the biggest difference. I mean, if you would send Colin Powell an email on his personal email account when he was Secretary of State, you'd get a personal email back, having nothing to do with classification, nothing. But there was no personal email server. And General Powell, Secretary of State Powell, has now been twice burned publicly, once by Dick Cheney and David Addington, the Vice President Cheney's office, on classified information before he spoke to the UN. That's one time. And now this, over a number of years.
And
no
you
wonder
look at
he's
this,
angry.
and you look at these different places where he used different types of emails. It shows that he cared what he was emailing on what, you know, and this was actually an issue back then that was considered to be very important as to who you're emailing from where.